In the grand tapestry of human history, few threads shine as brightly as that of Louis Pasteur. This isn't just a story about a scientist in a lab. It's the story of a revolution, a paradigm shift that redefined our understanding of life and death. He was a chemist, a biologist, a visionary whose work would go on to save more lives than any other single person in history. But to understand the giant, we must first meet the man. Born in a small French town in 1822, Louis Pasteur wasn't a child prodigy. His early teachers saw him as an average student, more interested in fishing and sketching than his academic studies. Yet, beneath this ordinary exterior was a mind of extraordinary focus and determination. His father, a tanner, instilled in him a powerful work ethic, a belief that perseverance could overcome any obstacle. It was this tenacity that would define his life's work. Pasteur's journey began not in medicine, but in chemistry. His early research on the crystalline structure of tartaric acid might sound obscure, but it was here that he first demonstrated his genius for observation and his courage to challenge established scientific dogma. He discovered that a seemingly single compound was actually made of two mirror images of each other. This discovery of molecular asymmetry laid the groundwork for a field we now call stereochemistry. And it hinted at a profound truth: the invisible world held secrets of immense importance. But Pasteur was a man of the people, driven to solve real-world problems. When France's famed wine industry was on the brink of collapse, with vats of wine mysteriously turning sour, they turned to him. The prevailing theory at the time was spontaneous generation, the idea that life, like maggots from meat or mold on bread, could simply rise from non-living matter. Vintners believed wine spoilage was just a chemical process, an unlucky event. Pasteur, with his powerful microscope, saw something different. He saw a microscopic world teeming with life. In the good wine, he saw yeast cells busily converting sugar to alcohol. In the sour wine, he saw different, smaller organisms, bacteria that were producing acid instead. The culprit wasn't bad luck. It was contamination by unwanted microbes. His solution was elegantly simple, yet revolutionary. He gently heated the wine to a temperature high enough to kill the harmful bacteria, but low enough to not spoil the taste. The process worked perfectly. This method, which we now call pasteurization, saved the French wine industry. It was soon applied to beer, and most importantly, to milk, preventing the spread of diseases like tuberculosis and typhoid fever that were commonly transmitted through raw milk, saving countless children's lives. Pasteur had proven that invisible germs were the cause of spoilage, striking the first major blow against the ancient theory of spontaneous generation. The scientific establishment, however, was not easily convinced. The debate over spontaneous generation raged on. In a brilliant and dramatic public experiment in 1860, at the Sorbonne, Pasteur settled the matter. He used special swan neck flasks, which allowed air to enter but trapped airborne dust and microbes in their long, curved necks. He boiled a nutrient broth in the flasks, killing any existing microbes. As long as the flasks remained upright, the broth remained clear and sterile for months, even years. But the moment a flask was tilted, allowing the dust-trapped microbes to fall into the broth, it quickly became cloudy with life. The conclusion was undeniable. Life only comes from life. The invisible germs were everywhere, carried on dust in the air. This discovery was the key that unlocked the door to modern medicine. If germs could spoil wine and broth, could they also be responsible for causing diseases in humans and animals? This was the foundation of the germ theory of disease. At the time, hospitals were terrifying places. Surgeons operated in their street clothes with unwashed hands and instruments. post-operative infections were so common that surgery was often a death sentence. Inspired by Pasteur's work, an English surgeon named Joseph Lister pioneered antiseptic surgery, using carbolic acid to sterilize instruments and clean wounds. Mortality rates plummeted. The germ theory transformed medicine from a practice of guesswork into a science. For the first time, humanity had a true enemy to fight, the microbe. Having identified the enemy, Pasteur now sought a way to defeat it. His attention turned to deadly diseases plaguing both animals and humans. He first tackled anthrax, a disease devastating French livestock. He discovered he could weaken the anthrax bacterium by culturing it at a high temperature. This attenuated, or weakened, form of the germ was no longer deadly, but it could still provoke an immune response when injected into an animal. The animal's body would learn to recognize and fight the invader, creating a powerful immunity against the fully virulent disease. He had created a vaccine. To prove it, Pasteur staged another dramatic public demonstration. A vaccina derit 5 with anthrax culture, leaving another group of 25 unvaccinated. Then, he injected all 50 sheep with a lethal dose of live anthrax bacteria. The tension was immense. Pasteur's reputation was on the line. Days later, a crowd gathered to see the results. Every single one of the unvaccinated sheep was dead or dying. And every single one of the vaccinated sheep was perfectly healthy, grazing peacefully in the field. The crowd erupted in applause. It was a triumph that echoed around the world. Pasteur had developed a universal method for creating vaccines. He had taken Edward Jenner's earlier work with smallpox and turned it into a scientific principle. But his greatest challenge, and his most personal battle, was yet to come: rabies, a terrifying and universally fatal disease transmitted by the bite of an infected animal. The virus was too small to be seen with the microscopes of his day, making it an invisible, ghost-like foe. But Pasteur applied the same principles. He grew the virus in the spinal cords of rabbits, then weakened it by drying the infected tissue over a period of days. He successfully used this vaccine to make dogs immune to rabies. But could it be used on a human? Could it work after someone had already been bitten? It was a tremendous risk. In July 1885, a 9-year-old boy named Joseph Meister was brought to Pasteur's lab. He had been mauled by a rabid dog with 14 bites. Without treatment, he was certain to die a horrible death. His mother begged Pasteur to help. With great trepidation, knowing a failure could ruin him, Pasteur began the course of 13 injections over 10 days, each one using a progressively stronger preparation of the virus. Pasteur was tormented with anxiety, barely sleeping, dreaming of the boy's fate. But the treatment worked. Joseph Meister lived. He became the first human life saved from rabies. News of this miracle spread like wildfire. People from all over the world, bitten by rabid animals, flocked to Paris for Pasteur's cure. The world, in its gratitude, funded the creation of a new biomedical research center, the Pasteur Institute. Which opened in 1888, it became a beacon of science dedicated to the study of infectious diseases. Pasteur would serve as its director until his death. From this institute, his students would go on to identify the microbes responsible for plague, diphtheria, tetanus, and many other diseases, developing new vaccines and treatments along the way. Louis Pasteur died in 1895, but his legacy is immortal. It's in the glass of milk you drink, safe and nutritious. It's in the sterile instruments in every operating room, making surgery safer than ever before. It's in the vaccines that protect our children from once-dreaded diseases. His work was a gift to humanity, a testament to the power of curiosity, persistence, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge for the good of all. He taught us that the greatest battles are not fought on fields of war, but in the unseen world all around us, and that with science and courage, we can win. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as we do, please like, subscribe, and share.